so this is Playing the Role, episode 3, being a better GM. So this is just going to be tips for GMs mostly.
Yeah.
Right? So we both have some experience with that. I don't know. I think I've done.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've done
probably.
like way more things than I have, but that's okay.
But, so there's like a lot of things that can make a really good game, and I mean usually that comes from the GM side of the table.
Yeah,
right?
I mean that's like some of the really fun games that I've played in were.
That was a good GM and stuff like that. Yeah. So we just made a list of like things that we think are important or could help out make things better. So I guess first and foremost, right, is being prepared.
Yeah.
Like having and this, I know this is like a big one, but
yeah, it's always a good thing.
Right. Like, if you're running a pre-made module even or anything, like read it ahead of time and make notes or like whatever you got to like know what you're doing so you don't have to like stop and go, oh, what was this, and like pause the game so you have to look up stuff or whatever, and like having notes or like stat cards or whatever for monsters or like what certain rooms do or things or something like that in the game.
Yeah, you want to
like that's big.
You want to have a plan, right? So you want to like start with a plan, and then players aren't going to just follow your plan straight away, but at least you can like improv.
Yeah, they
know where you're going, where you need to get.
They never.
Yeah,
follow
you're
the
pretty
plan.
much. They're just going to immediately light your plans on fire.
So don't over prepare either. I guess that's
yeah.
That would be good. Like, because if you write like this huge like story and like things that's based on one other thing happening, like that might not happen. So maybe have notes with it and then just wing it. I use index cards a lot now. I've started doing that where I've kind of like write like encounters down on cards and then have them ready to go, and just have notes on them, and then it's not like a huge. It's not a huge prep
got your
time
laminate thing,
stuff like that. And then
all that stuff.
Yeah, she's using the laminate things. Yeah, I laminated these cards. I wish I thought of that beforehand. I would have grabbed one.
Well,
but
in the future, you're gonna see some.
We'll do it in the future. We'll do a props video maybe.
Yeah,
a props video. But I've got these cards that are laminated that I use like a dry erase marker on that I just put like monster stats, just quick stats and hit points and stuff like that to keep track of. It's
pretty handy.
It's really good because you're constantly like writing stuff down. So instead of just like using up paper or cards or whatever, you just use that and you just erase it with your finger or your
like
sleeve or something,
like a paper towel. Yeah.
So the next thing is probably so be prepared, but don't go too crazy.
Yeah,
because
then you're going to get discouraged. That again, they go off to the left and you want them to go to the right.
Yeah.
You got to improvise something.
Yeah, especially if you like write a lot of stuff, because like there's been times where I've written down like loads of like stuff and what's gonna happen and things like that, and then Bill's just like, yeah, we're gonna just skirt all that and just skip all that.
I'm pretty good at
like do this thing
going off script as soon as possible.
So that's a big thing. So I guess that's it for being prepared, right? We can touch on that later.
We're prepared right now.
We're prepared right now. We have a list of stuff. So, so the second one is distractions, like trying to limit the distractions and stuff that goes on. I think we talked in the last video about cell phones and like players keeping their cell phones.
Yeah.
Like, not in front of them and on. And
yeah,
stuff.
Especially if you're involved with what's going on, you don't want to.
So as the GM, like that kind of falls to you where you have to be, the person to say, okay, everybody, like put your phones down, or hey, like try and pay attention or whatever. And I know it sucks. I'm bad at doing that. Like that's something that I'm bad at.
Well, you can maybe like take breaks in there if everybody's got to get their. They got to be connected all the time or whatever.
Right. Yeah, and I've seen people do that. I don't know. It's never just seemed to work out, but maybe we should try doing that.
We could. I mean, I don't think we have a real problem.
Do 45 minutes on and then like a 15-minute break or something like that.
Yeah.
Some people do that. We get like a big sand timer. and do it.
Yeah, or I mean, just be ironic and just use our phones as a timer.
Or use our phones as a timer. Yeah. So yeah, so distractions and everything else. So I mean, that also includes, like if you're gonna play a game at somebody's house or your own house or whatever, like try and like tell other people like who might be there or like walking around like, hey, we're gonna do this game, and
Oh yeah,
like
you want,
don't
a
come in and
quiet
like
place
bother
to-
people and everything else, or
Right.
yeah. And I know it's hard if you're running at a game store. Like I don't mind running some games at a game store, but
There's like conflicting games.
but yeah, you've got two games and they're like taking place next to each other,
Yeah,
and
oh my God.
it's happened to me. And so you got one table that's just increases their volume so they can
Yep.
hear, and then it's it's going back and forth. So you really want to try and limit like that sort of thing if possible. I know it's not always possible, but maybe you talk to the other table and say, okay, let's keep it.
Yeah,
We'll
you
both
got to
keep
use
it
your
at a
library
minimum thing.
voices in that case.
But yeah, so distractions. I guess that covers it for that, right? Really, I don't know if anything else.
I don't think we got distracted at all at this point.
Probably not.
I mean,
No, I think we're doing good.
yeah, all right.
So then the third one is ambiance. Wrote down. I
really want to.
I guess I'm
ambiance
I'm
so
not
bad.
I'm not as familiar with it, I think, as you are.
It can work really well. I mean, I've had a couple people, like a game that I play now. We like do a bunch of ambiance related stuff, and it's cool. Like it gets you kind of like into the mood to play, and it keeps you. It's just cool. It sounds. I mean, I remember like years ago, I was like, "That's super dumb," but it's fun. Like I like
Yeah.
it. It depends.
Yeah.
Maybe it depends on the game you're playing. Like maybe it only fits.
We've had some D&D campaigns where the GM has played like music or like specific pieces of music at specific points in the game, like a soundtrack or whatever. Like, and it's worked out like fairly well, but sometimes I mean that takes like a lot of work sometimes to try and like work
I mean,
that
if you're
in.
playing music,
So-
maybe you can work in some music to like if it's like episodic, like maybe there's like a theme with like the music you're putting
Yeah,
in, or, like
yeah.
the music titles and stuff, like a TV show would do.
Yeah, I can see doing that if you pick like I think most of it would have like if you're just gonna have a background music, I think most of it you'd want it to be like instrumental. I think no.
I guess it depends. I mean that
Does it work? I mean, I guess if it works in your case, right?
Yeah,
it's fine.
it's one of those things. I mean, our game was World of Darkness, so I think there's like a video game. I haven't played it, but
Right,
I'm pretty sure
yeah, I
that they
don't-
just play music over the whole thing, so it kind of felt almost like the game, I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is cool because
I guess that would make sense if
Yeah.
the video game works that way. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I think it's cool.
I've heard of people using. This goes back to the other the distraction thing too, but I think Steve's mentioned it, and I don't know if I think it was in Eric's game or something that they used a candle.
Mm-hmm.
So you would like the thing. You have this candle and you light it,
Mm-hmm.
and like everybody agrees beforehand, like while the candle's lit, like you're in game mode.
Right. Yeah.
Like that's you're in game mode, and there was they played at the store not too long ago. There's this game called 10 Candles,
Mm-hmm.
and you actually have 10 candles. They're like little like the tea light candles,
Okay.
and like I don't know the whole story or anything. I don't want to screw it up, but basically there's this like evil that's coming, and like so
you gotta
you
do
put
it
out
before the candles go
right,
out.
but like you put out like candles at like certain points in the game,
Mm-hmm.
but there's like a rule in the book that says if the candles go out for any reason, like they're
Oh,
out,
man.
and
So you
like
sneeze out some candles.
right, then like all of a sudden,
Okay.
like the
Like,
whole
I
thing
spilled my
escalates
Coke on
or
the table
whatever.
and like 4 candles
Um,
went out.
I mean, that might be an extreme situation. Whoa!
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of neat. But the candle thing, that might be a good idea to try. At some point.
maybe.
So I haven't used it personally. I don't know. But that seems to be like a good idea to say, hey, when this is lit, this is, games on and
Yeah.
and
yeah.
like
Oh
that.
yeah.
So.
Keep you focused on the task.
So, also, so keeping notes, like, I know I kind of mentioned that earlier, but like keeping cards that have just stats on them for like the monsters and the encounters and stuff like that. It's really great to have so that they're right there and you know exactly what you need. Like you don't have to look anything up. Like especially if you're just if you're coming from a module or you wrote some stuff yourself and it's like this is
it's just
there's a
almost
beholder
like,
in the room or something.
Like triggers to remind you when to do stuff or what you had planned.
Right.
Because you can probably recall it from memory, but you get like little, reminder notes.
Right, little notes and stuff like that. Yeah, it's really, really great to have. So you don't have to go looking, like especially if you need to look something up, like if you have it written there. It's
even
great.
if you're like, it's on this page, boom, in the book.
Page numbers, yeah. You write down page numbers when you dig something from the book.
Yeah, especially when the books are like...
You'll find it, especially
right here.
Especially when the books are
100 pages.
Are pretty big, yeah.
So, probably can't see it that well from back there.
So, I don't know, maybe.
It's a thick book.
We're in HD, so they could probably zoom in and see that's the DCC RPG book, right? So,
shameless plug.
Shameless plug, right? I like it. I run that a lot. I use that for everything. I mean, yeah, you're in
aware.
games. So the other thing is avoiding railroading. So, I mean, now we kind of talked about this earlier a little bit, but you don't want to like push the players. You want to push them in a specific directions, and that's natural. But you don't want to just say, nope, like this is it. This is the path to go.
Yeah, you want to get to some point, but how players get there, I think, is where you got to improvise, and that's like railroading would be like you go here, 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 straight line based on what I wrote down. But no one's ever gonna follow those steps in that order.
And it's really great when you let the players say, hey, like, what do you guys want to do? How do you guys want to do this? Instead of like forcing a fight onto somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Like, I mean, I did that. I don't know if you realized that in the last game, the post-apocalyptic game, but
no,
that fight you guys weren't supposed to fight. I mean, that wasn't. I didn't.
You didn't think we were dumb enough to do that?
No, I'm like, there's no way they're gonna fight these guys.
There's
like a huge group. It's like way overpowered. I'm like, so this forces them to like go and talk to these people and and try and like make like an arrangement, and they're just like, nope. We're gonna build this bomb and like blow half.
We made a bomb, right?
We like do it. So
we blew up like an oxygen tank or something.
Yeah, it was like an oxygen tank. Like,
that was some serious stuff.
Duct taped it to a vehicle peace offering or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think
shot at it.
The physics of that were there,
but so that kind of brings me like the next thing on the list is like try saying yes. So I mean, if the players come up with a great idea, like duct tape an oxygen tank to a dune buggy that we're going to shoot at and try and explode the thing or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, maybe your outcome isn't as cool as the outcome that they came up with. I mean,
right. So I mean, instead of just saying no, that doesn't work. Like, I mean, just be like, yeah, sure, like do it. Like, what do you got to lose? Like, make it happen. And then, like, when it did happen, like, you can see, like, the look on the players' faces is just, like, awesome.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, my God, it, like, happened,
creates a memorable experience for the players.
Yeah, exactly.
You're like, oh, I remember when I drove that dune buggy and fired a gun at the tank and blew up, like, 30 people? Yeah.
Right, so, like, it blew up, Whereas if it happened my way, it was, like, nobody would remember, like, oh, yeah, we went to talk to this jerk, and then
and he was
we forgot about
us.
him.
And then...
like, that's it. So that's really good. Also, with the note taking and stuff like that, keep notes as to like what happens. When maybe isn't as important, but like just brief notes of what's happened during the session, so that the next time you get together, you can do like a recap and say, okay, this is what's happened, briefly, and this is where we left off.
Well, or you can write, like, you have, like, this player did this player did that. You can maybe write for the next game based on what they did. So, like, hey, this is what they're trying to do. Maybe, do some planning for this sort of, this sort of stuff over here that they're probably going to get to. So it gives you some almost like feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
say.
So you know what you should write next.
Right. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you're not just writing things they're not going to get to. You like have
Yeah,
a better
absolutely.
chance of working it in.
And then flexibility, being flexible with flexibility, covers a range of topics, I guess, but being flexible with rules,
Yeah.
is what really,
Well,
that's what I think of.
just if something is going to be cool and the rules aren't like 100% allowing it to be cool.
Right, like shooting an oxygen tank.
How much does it
like
matter
it might not work,
that it's,
but
we're fudging a little bit here? How much does it, like, if it's important, then
Right.
maybe not, but if it's like, that'll be cool. Let's, rules are guidelines in this game.
Right. And if you have to stretch believability a little bit for the cool factor or whatever, like I think that's worth it. And it's important to do that. I mean, I think with players to have like the memorable experience.
Yeah, if it's like a
so
creative idea, you wanna reward creativity.
Yes.
So
Yeah, absolutely. So let it happen. So
makes your job easier actually as a GM.
Right. So I mean, I try and avoid saying no.
Right.
Like I really try hard to say yes, like all the time and stuff. Probably shouldn't tell you that, but because you're in some of my games, but but yeah. Well, hopefully nobody else that plays my games is listening.
I mean, you name drop like half
No,
of them.
I did.
So.
So no, but I do really try to say yes to things if it's at least somewhat feasible.
Yeah.
So I think
That's all
that covers all of our list. It's our notes. See, we actually have notes that we took beforehand. Some of it is actually legible.
I can't read it. Just
And,
FYI. So he's notes, and I have decipher script roll. I got a 2.
Two,
so I
perfect,
can't read it.
fantastic. So, yeah. So, if you guys got any tips that you like, please leave them in the comments below.
Oh yeah, and subscribe. Right?
Yeah,
That's a thing you can do.
like the video, share it, subscribe. Comment on it. Tell us, we're doing a great job.
Yeah, or an amazing job, like one.
Or
of
an
those
amazing
two
job
options.
if you want to, one of those two, right? Yeah, we're
Or
either doing amazing
whatever,
or
I
well.
guess.
Or I mean, tell us we're doing a crappy job, and
Yeah.
Whatever, I guess. But yeah, sad face. But yeah, so I guess that's that, right? All right. Thanks, guys. We'll see you on the next one.